Um, Patricia Grabo, 204 East Callender Street. I first of all thank the commission for having the public meeting last night on the Wellness Center. I think that was a really great idea. I do want to register publicly my opposition to even touching our Civic Center. When I first arrived in Livingston 20 years ago, I got back the Grabo building, which my grandfather had built in 1908, and my grandmother lost 62 years before I got it back, and my son and I restored it. There was consideration of taking it down. It's a beautiful building, and it's a wonderful, well built facility. I grieved to some degree about the loss of the original city hall where this building is now. And when they replaced this building, people thought they were just doing a wonderful contemporary thing by taking that gorgeous brick historic building down and putting in this facility. But what they got was something down the road that was not as well built as the original building. We also lost the Albemarle to the guest house. And again, people were thinking, well, we're going to have something wonderful and contemporary, as opposed to a 5-story brick building that had a 3-story aviarium in it. We also did not rebuild our opera house. We also did not rebuild the hotel that was adjacent to the opera house. And when I arrived in Livingston, I vowed that these wonderful historic buildings, we have over 400 buildings in Livingston, Montana, on the National Historic Register. Of course, that beautiful Art Deco Civic Center is one of them. It is absolutely unnecessary to even touch that Civic Center. I was out there today and looking at that great piece of land between the skate park and the high school with the trees in it, and it would be just perfect for a wellness center and a swimming pool and other things. And the other factor that I think this commission should know about is that land where the band shell is and behind the band shell cannot be built on, because that was just a landfill. And when I was on the commission, the that land was surveyed, and that is just junk under the surface dirt. So you certainly can't build on that. But I would just like to register my support. If we had decided to tear down some of the beautiful buildings in downtown Livingston, we wouldn't have that lovely historic downtown that Architecture Digest says is one of the most beautiful main streets in America. So I just want to register my love for that gorgeous historic civic center that we use to get in out of the rain in the farmers market and other things. So I'm just to support of keeping our historic buildings and then growing from there, but certainly keeping that which is so valuable to all of us. Thank you.
Thank you, Patricia. Any other public comment? Last call. All right. Next on our agenda, we have consent items A, B, C, and D. Do I have a motion from the commission on consent items or any that you would like pulled for discussion?
Making a motion to approve consent items A, B, C, and D.
Second.
We have a motion by Schwartz and a second by Friedman. Roll call, please. Yes.
4.
4.
4. Motion passes. Next on our agenda, we have one proclamation. A proclamation on National Public Works Week. Whereas public works professionals focus on infrastructure, facilities, and services that are of vital importance to sustainable and resilient communities and to the public health, high quality of life, and well-being of the people of Livingston, Montana. And whereas these infrastructure, facilities, and services could not be provided without the dedicated efforts of public works professionals who are engineers, managers, and employees at all levels of government and the public sector, who are responsible for rebuilding, improving, and protecting our nation's transportation, water supply, water treatment, and solid waste systems, public buildings, and other structures and facilities essential for our citizens. And whereas it is in the public interest for the citizens, civic leaders, and children in Livingston, Montana to gain knowledge of and to maintain a progressive interest and understanding of the importance of public works and public works programs in their respective communities. And whereas the year 2019 marks the 59th annual National Public Works Week, sponsored by the American Public Works Association. Now, therefore, I, Darrell Hoagland, Chair of the Livingston City Commission, do hereby proclaim May 19th through 25th, 2019 as National Public Works Week. Further, I urge all citizens to join with representatives of the American Public Works Association and government agencies in activities, events, and ceremonies designed to pay tribute to our public works professionals, engineers, managers, and employees, and to recognize the substantial contributions they make to protecting our national health, safety, and quality of life. Thank you. Next on our agenda, we have scheduled public comment. We have Shannon Holmes, Public Works Director, and Infrastructure Project Updates. Come on up.
Good evening. Thanks for giving me an opportunity to tell you a little bit about the exciting times as far as infrastructure improvements in Livingston. Well, some have actually already started and some are yet to be started. So before I get into project specific, I just want to take the opportunity to thank all of our hardworking, loyal, dedicated public works employees. Very honored to be in the public works profession. And although we're a little shorthanded this year, I feel like we're doing a very good job of keeping everything maintained and operational within our city. So on to the exciting infrastructure projects. So we are nearing the end of our WRF, our water reclamation facility upgrade. As you may know, the project was substantially complete in February 28th of 2019. Myself, city staff, our consultant, and representatives of Dick Anderson did a final walkthrough at that time to establish the substantial completion, and we came up with about 8 pages of punch list items that needed to be completed. Those are things that could be as minor as just touch up painting all the way to as significant as we need to put some asphalt at this location where equipment had damaged it. So they have since spent the majority of March, April, and May working on those punch list items and some other items that were required for our contract with Dick Anderson. To finish up, unfortunately, the latest change order G4, where we needed to do the air handler for the solids processing building. There's been some extended lead times, unfortunately, for some of that equipment. So that will push construction, or at least a presence from Dick Anderson into July. And myself, Dan, and A2S and Dick Anderson are working on the final change order that we will present to the commission. That would be change order G5. It's really going to clear up a lot of the financials for the project. We'll get some credits for work that wasn't done and more or less some pretty minor change order items that we'll present to close out that project. We still want to host a ribbon cutting and a day for the public and the commission certainly to see our wonderful facility. And we're looking at doing that hopefully later in June, if summer will show its face by that time. So we'll do a good job of getting that information out with the enterprise and probably commission meetings prior to that, and then in our website and Facebook pages. So downtown CIP, everything is going very well down there. I think the big difference from this year's project, obviously location, but getting an earlier start than we did last year. We're looking at hopefully being done with all the underground pipe work within the next 2 weeks. And once that occurs, we're basically looking at a streetscape project where demolition of the streets from Lewis to Geyser, sidewalks, curb and gutter, and all that will be torn out, and we'll put in all brand new streets, curbs, sidewalks, street lights, and hopefully get that all completed by late July. Again, weather has been a little bit of a hindrance for us, but because it's primarily been pipe work to this point, it really hasn't slowed them down a whole lot, about 3 to 5 days since they initially started. So things are going well. Certainly appreciate Matt spends a lot of time downtown as our communication piece between local business owners, general public, and the contractor. Of course, TDNH has a resident inspector that's down there every day when there is crews working. So I hope you have not heard any negative comments. I would gauge that as a good barometer of that the project is going well so far. Next city project contract has been signed the 5th to 8th. I'll do Park Street Water. All right. So everybody, we had a very exciting winter, not only with significant snowfall, cold temperatures, but 3 water main breaks in 8 days brought its challenges. Not only the volume of water that ended up on our city streets and storm drain systems, but our crews actually going out and working and shutting water lines off and making repairs in, at times, 30 below temperatures. When hydraulics and backhoe equipment and propane tanks quit operating, it's too cold to work, but guess what? We still have to get the job done. And my hat's off to the water crew. They did an amazing job. And really, this was all connected to a lot of the snow maintenance that we were going through as well. And we had members of our water department out clearing streets at that time as well. So they just did a magnificent job. This was a surprise to us. We weren't aware of this being a priority project until these 3 breaks occurred. And as you see, this is a 10-inch cast iron pipe. It was put in the ground back in the late 40s, early 50s. And it has really corroded to the point where it's unfunctional. So since the 3rd water main break, we have isolated that whole section of main, reconnected services that were connected to that. And it's really been a priority project for us because we have 4 different water mains in streets between 10th Street and 6th Street that are now all dead end lines. And unfortunately, they're also undersized. So, it's really important for certainly fire protection to be able to get this main back replaced and be able to get the system looped again. So you signed a contract with TDNH to start the design. Here 2 weeks ago, we held a stakeholders meeting with MDT and MRL and found that both of those entities are going to be very easy to work with. We've already started the process of getting an encroachment permit and occupancy permit through MDT. And MRL has assured us as the design comes in that they will turn that review around in less than 7 days. So very excited for that. Certainly, Mike and Paige and I are going to need to sit down and look at where we're sitting in our water fund. But I'm hopeful that this is a project that we have an expedited design that maybe we can try to start sometime in the August timeframe. We're looking at the pipe bursting technology for this project due to the location of this main with respect to Park Street. That would have absolutely the least amount of impact. It's a trenchless technology, and really the only places that we would have to do open excavations, and they would be relatively small in size, is connecting all these mains in the side streets, and then at each end where we're connecting to existing pipe. So there'll be more to come as we move forward with this project, and if it looks like we can afford that, you'll see a contract for it'll go out to advertisement and a contract in front of the commission to move forward. So I think the next one is 5th to 8th, and that is already been signed by the commission for the contract, Helena Sand and Gravel. Got that contract, and they are right now waiting for school to be out for the summer to start that project, and they anticipate it being around a 10-week project. We as administrative staff certainly are getting the word out to all the residents in this area. There's not going to be any interruption to sewer. There'll be some bypass pumping that'll ensure that all the sewer is maintained for this project. And I think when we brought this in front of you, we talked about the importance of upsizing this from an existing 8-inch line to a 15, just based on the areas that we are growing in Livingston. Northtown Phase 2 and 3 certainly have an impact on this line, as well as Star Edition, Discovery Vista, and that area. So next one, great project we've been working on since 2014, collaborative project between the city and the county, and certainly the Parks and Trails Committee has played a big role. This project has been designed, reviewed by all parties, and was advertised for bid last week. According to MDT's bidding schedule, the award for that is anticipated for June 25th, and construction is slated to start in August. I do want to let everybody know, I know we're all anxious to see this one get going, but there are some stipulations with migratory birds and removing trees. So you won't see any clearing and grubbing from where the fireworks stand is towards the RX Coffee until after Labor Day and 1st of September. There's enough where they can get in and start working closer to the bridge earlier, but there shouldn't be any reason why this project will not be completed, paved before November. So those are all city projects that we have an administrative role in. Quite a few development projects as well. And the first one of those is slated to start construction here in early June. And that would be the intersection of Billman Lane and Highway 89. And this is really the last piece of infrastructure the city required for the Murdoch's development initially, and then the Taco Bell after that. And last summer, MRL went in and replaced the crossing at that location. That was about an $80,000 improvement. And so the developer's contractor will start in June, and you'll see an extension of curb and gutter all the way out to the existing curb and gutter on 89, connection of sidewalks along Billman Lane out to the sidewalk along 89, and that's part of the multi-use trail that extends south of town. And then some of the striping and signage to properly sign that pedestrian crossing. So we're excited to see that one be complete, and that really should only take 2 or 3 weeks. The next one is the Gateway project, and plans have been approved by the city and DEQ for water sewer extensions for this project. Have not scheduled a pre-construction meeting as of yet, but certainly have been meeting with the developer and their consultant, and there's a strong desire to get started on that project here fairly soon. As you can see, we'll be connecting an 8-inch water main and off of a 12-inch line that really runs parallel with the on-off ramp, and then doing a sewer extension that is not only adequate for this development, but for other parcels within this development. So this project is really going to clean up the infrastructure in that part of town. That historically was initially part of the county, and the way some of the service connections were done back many years ago weren't quite to the standards that we'd hold them to today. So this will be a good opportunity to loop the water and provide adequate sewer for that part of town. And then the last is Northtown Phase 2 and 3. And it was our understanding that this project was going to start this past Monday, and just received word from the contractor this afternoon due to some lead times for some of the sewer manholes from Anderson Precast. They're not going to close Scenic Trail until next Tuesday and start on the sewer work. We put this out on our Public Works Facebook page last Friday, as well as the city, and received quite a few responses, which is always good. And I just want to take the opportunity to explain the magnitude of work that's going to be done on Scenic Trail Wildflower. It's going to be a water main extension from Prairie Drive all the way to Summit Street. So for the full length of that, there'll be a brand new 8-inch water main put in, really on the north side of the street. A significant amount of storm drain improvements, inlets, curb inlets along the street, and sewer connections that stub into the phases. As you can see, 2 and 3 have been approved, so there'll be a sewer main manhole put in at that location, so we can extend that main up to the north. And then you see the future phases. While the street's being tore up, you might as well get all the sewer and utilities out of the roadway. So they will be doing those in 3 other locations. And then once the utilities are in, it'll be a full rebuild of the north half of the street with curb and gutter, sidewalks, and streetlights. So, and the anticipated closure for that is going to be about 3.5 months. And just before I will welcome any questions, I just want to remind everybody to certainly be safe and drive slow through work zones. I would strongly encourage parents, school district. I still see quite a few children going through the work site on Main Street morning and afternoon. I would love to see them use alternate routes out of the work zone if at all possible. And certainly keep your eye out for construction and street closure updates, not only on the city website, city public work Facebook pages, and then we try to get posting public notices in the enterprise as well. So, and if anybody has any questions, they can always call the Public Works office as well. So,
Right.
And with that, I will entertain questions.
Commissioners, anyone have a question? Quentin?
I just have one. It's probably more directed to Matt, but are we still have a coordinator for emailing affected business owners, like on B Street and
Yes.
stuff, even though they're not in the construction
Yes,
phase, but they're impacted by it?
Matt has through all the various vault projects, CIP last year or this year, I think we have a rather elaborate email
Yeah.
list.
Okay, good.
And of course, we all, we have our public meetings every Thursday morning as well.
Okay. And the pipe bursting, is that a sleeve or what? Or is that new pipe? that
It
they're
is
pulling?
new pipe. They would
It's a
be
solid pipe going through that?
be pulling in either HDPE or a fusible PVC pipe.
Oh, okay. Cool. All I want to know. Thanks.
Yes.
Any other questions or comments, commissioners? I have one comment.
Yes.
Today, I actually got a call from the manager of the contracting for the Main Street project and talking about safety. So I appreciate it that they're trying to think ahead too as far as kids coming and leaving school. The sidewalk is open from on the west side of the street, so there's still access, but they are concerned because kids were, of course, riding their bikes through the dirt.
And I can attest, I appreciate Steve's attention to detail in that. As I drop off my kids to school, I actually saw Steve staged at Main and River Drive this morning and kind of directing traffic and making sure that his operators were aware of kids going through the work zone. And I think that's just hats off to Matt and our team and really staying out ahead of these projects and letting them know what the biggest concerns are for our community, and then them being able to react and follow those directions. It really makes the job a safe project.
Well, thank you.
So on a
Thanks,
last
Dr.
note,
Dodd.
I might just say I feel we need to be proud as a community. The Montana Infrastructure Coalition hosts an infrastructure week on an annual basis, and due to all of the challenges with the legislature and bills being passed and denied in Helena, they chose Livingston as their only stop this year for Public Works Week. And so Mike and myself and our area legislatures all met with Daryl James, and we had representatives from the county commissioners, Public Works, and some folks from the public and media. And it was really a great opportunity again to spotlight Livingston and what all we're doing for with our different funding scenarios to make sure that these projects are coming to fruition. I don't think you're going to find a town in Montana our size that has the magnitude of work going on that we do right now. So for that, I'm very proud, and I think it says a lot about Livingston and our community.
I was going to
Thank
add
you.
by saying thank you. I
Yes.
mean, great job so far with everything. Yeah, and yeah, we have a lot going on.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of big projects. And I think one of our strengths recently in particular is really updating the public well. And we appreciate that as commissioners because then there's fewer questions that we have to look for answers and you're giving the answers before. So we appreciate it.
We'll
And
keep
can you
up the
keep
good
that ar-
work.
Can you keep that around so we can look at it after the meeting?
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
Take it home with you.
Please don't trip over it though. We'll set it aside.
You have Livingston's most expensive paperweight in your office.
Tonight, we have no public hearings and no ordinances. We have one resolution. Resolution number 4848. Hold on. It's kind of reading weird on mine. Sorry. Authorizing the city manager to enter into GSA with Four Corners Recycling LLC. Mr. Cardus.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So this is the same contract that we've been carrying with Four Corners for the past few years. They handle all of our recycling needs. So they're currently recycling the cardboard, the metals. One thing they aren't currently recycling is the glass, although with this contract, we now have an option to recycle the glass, which wasn't there prior. So if you look on page 45, you'll see the actual cost increases. If you look at the totals without glass, that's increases in what we're paying currently for our current recycling. You can see it ranges over the next, it's a 3-year contract. So through FY20 through FY22, it ranges from about $2,500 to $6,000. between material processing costs and material transport costs, because they also come pull it from the Public Works facility and haul it back to Bozeman. You can see now there is a option to include glass with that. We'll talk through those issues during our budget meetings, whether we want to include that and start actually recycling the glass, or if we just want to go away from accepting glass at all. But this does at least give us an option we didn't have before to actually go forward with true recycling instead of just stockpiling. But overall, they were, I would say, pretty standard cost increase, just with in line with other cost increase, any other service that we're getting right now. So the total for next year is about an additional $2,500, $2,550.
Great. Why don't we start it by having public comment on Resolution 4848? Any public comment? All right. Do we have any commissioner comments or questions? Quentin?
Yeah, lots.
Yeah.
No, the only one, is there, clarification on plastic with them? We only take 1 and 2 currently, or they take. But clamshells are 1 and 2, but they say we can't take those. Can we get a reason why they won't take those?
Sure, we can ask them and see if they can give us an answer.
I keep forgetting. Oh, wait, Matt got his hands up.
Oh, do you,
Link on the Public Works website that has a full 2-page explanation of that. It's how they manufacture the plastic that makes a difference.
Of course, and I didn't look. That's because it's getting too big. I'm just kidding. Thanks, Matt. No, cool. I'll look at that.
Any other commissioner questions or comments? Melissa, do you have something to say?
Go ahead, Warren.
If the glass, if just throwing the glass into the dump, what would that add weight-wise, dollar-wise, to disposing of it that way?
I would have to, do you know how many tons we have stockpiled right now?
Well, stockpile, we have probably 350 to 400 tons.
And we're paying what, 65 a ton? 60, 40, what's the tonnage for us? 49? Yeah, so it would cost the city $49 a ton for the 300 tons if we were going to dispose of it.
Thank you.
But yeah, if I could add to that, what do we generate a month? Do you have any idea?
We average about 4 to 5 tons a week.
Okay. Yeah, oh, yeah. Okay, yeah, maybe, when it comes budget time, we can.
It'll be in our
crunch
next
those numbers.
meeting.
Yeah,
Yes.
all right. Thank you.
That's my big question, I guess, is we're just talking about the contract, not what's in the contract, if we're going to be talking about glass later.
Right. So the
Right.
contract has a glass clause in it. So it's the option if we want to exercise it.
Mhm.
But the question will become, do we want to exercise that clause? And that'll just come down to the financials of it.
Anything else? I have more of a statement to make. I know past commissions years ago, before me, and I've been on for over 5 and 6. And past commissions before put a lot of time and energy into this and found it as an important part of our community. And I think the commissions along the way have stood by that decision that was made with other commissioners. And I'm glad we're still recycling. I want us to continue, and I'm glad we're coming up with budgets that still help us to continue in this process. Because I know a lot of communities are cutting recycling as an option because of the cost. And also there are problems with recycling worldwide, really, because of who's buying what when. But I appreciate that we're still trying and succeeding, I think. So I'm glad to see it continue.
And Missoula is not taking any plastic at all right now.
And Bozeman started taking glass recently, this last year, and they had not forever. All right, so no final questions, comments? So do we have a motion on resolution number 4848?
I move we accept resolution 4848.
Second,
We have a motion by Maybe and a second by Newts. Roll call, please. Yes?
Four. Four.
Four.
yes.
Motion passes. Next on our agenda, we have one action item to discuss, approve, deny 2019 Livingston Roundup Parade request for fee waiver. Mr. Cardus.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So this is the request for fee waiver from the Chamber for the Roundup Parade. It's something we've done every year for as long as I've been here, and I think for a lot longer. If you look on page 57, the Chamber's requested a total payment of $500 for the event. That's about a waiver of about $1,300 in fees. Staff was supportive, and we would encourage you to pass it.
Right, so let's start with public comment on our request for fee waiver. Leslie is already up here, so go ahead.
Yes. So I only get public comment on my own agenda item, I guess.
Yeah, on the fee waiver. It has, since that's the agenda item.
Okay, so we're going to discuss a couple more things because things were not clear when the application was turned in. I do want to say something to start this off. We, the people of Montana, grateful to God for the quiet beauty of our state, the grandeur of our mountains, and the vastness of our rolling plains, and desiring to improve quality of life, equality of opportunity, and to secure the blessings of liberty for this and future generations. The parade here in Livingston is 93 years old. It is the largest 4th of July parade in the state of Montana. People from all over the world come to this state, governors, senators, legislators, and our locals, as well as interstate travel non-residents. It is something that keeps the vitality of our district, that takes advantage of all of the people coming. In this last year, prior to this last 2017, $1.2 million approximately was brought into the economy here in Livingston directly because of this parade. Last year, the parade route was shortened due to the main street being torn up for revisions. We worked with the city and these different city officials to be able to create a secondary parade route. I'm asking you here today to not only have the reduction in fees so that we can continue to put the parade on as good partners with the city, the county, as well as the sponsors that we get to put the parade route on. This keeps it definitely affordable for us as a nonprofit. But I am also asking today to return to the historic parade route. I received a phone call shortly before coming down here tonight to bring this under public comment. But under our agenda byline, the rules of the agenda, we had something that was already in the agenda for the city commission tonight. So I could not speak about this during public comment at the beginning of the session this evening. So what I wanted to bring up in my very short amount of time is that the parade route was denied. Lisa, Lowy, Mike Cardus, the police chief, and I'm only assuming a few others, they called them a meeting. This meeting was not brought together with other parties like myself that actually wrote the application. And under Article 2, Section 8 of the state constitution for Montana, the public has the right to expect governmental agencies to afford such reasonable opportunity for citizen participation in the operation of agencies prior to the final decision as may be provided. I have a lot of other papers here. I've done my background, the paperwork on this to prove to you that we need to return to the historic route here in Livingston, not only for our downtown businesses, but because this is something that is part of our heritage. It's going to be something that's going to be happening long after we're all gone. And this is extremely important. Right here, I have 599 local citizen signatures on this petition to restore the historic parade route back in Livingston. I have talked with Bill Pierce at MDT, Kyle DeMars, who told me that he was requested not to sign the actual contract, which I had last year, he had signed as well. And this year he won't sign until he hears from our city manager. And I see that there is no reason, since our parade route has 2 detours. I've talked with the fire chief, the police chief, and rural fire chief, which are, most of them are in the parade route. They also park a vehicle on the left side. There are 2 detours, but on the left side of the parade route, which would be to the south, so that they can actually access and leave the
Okay,
parade during
Thank
the
you,
route.
Leslie.
I-
So I, as far as this agenda item is concerned, I hate to say this, but I have to because of what is required in meeting agendas and how the protocol of it. So the issue is the fee waiver
It's-
and not the route according to this.
It
So
was changed after I turned in that document. It was denied after I turned that in. Otherwise, I would have had it right on that front page, on the fee waiver page, the parade route, which is actually in the package. The parade route is in the package.
So you're saying
It was denied after.
the route or the
route
fee
was
waiver?
denied after, yes.
Okay, so going back to the point of our focus right now is a decision on a fee waiver, not on a route. Okay, so I can't go about approving a route during this discussion item, but we can discuss approving the fee waiver because that is by Jay, I need your help on the agenda, but explain to the public as far as the law and public notice when it comes to public notice of a
Right.
a decision.
What's on the agenda, what you publicly know.
So we have to discuss the fee waiver, and that's the item on the agenda, where the route is not according to just the fee waiver request. Do you get what I'm saying on
I
this
do.
part of
It's in
it?
the very first paragraph also, Main Street, Second Street to Park Street. I mean, it's right there asking for the request at the same time as the route. If you look at the first paragraph. Event location of Main Street, Second Street, and Park Street. 2 total,
True.
$500.
So the conditions and the whole packet, but as far as the decision today, it's on a fee waiver. The decision as far as route, what's that? Yeah, what, we'll leave that in a second. So this is information that can answer our decision, okay?
Okay.
And how we read it. And I know this sounds hard to accept when I know this issue is you're very passionate about. So I get that part of it, but we have to focus on the decision at hand, which is to approve or not, or disapprove the request for fee waiver, which was submitted as well, correct? So that's why we're here right now. So as far as the,
So should we put it
Second.
back on the agenda for 2 weeks from now?
well, and a commission can discuss that, and this is something that I know has, a lot of people have been talking to us about, or talking. And the city has updated, I've asked a lot of questions regarding it. So at this time, we'll talk. We'll go forward on this item, and then we can continue our discussion. Maybe you and I can move forward on more later, which I know we've tried to talk to each other, and I have had updates from you, but then making our decision right now based on this. Okay?
You're talking about the city ordinances is what you were going to talk about. The parade routes under city ordinances during the updates. There were updates done about who gets to decide the parade route.
Right. Well, I'm putting all the pieces together, but I'm also listening to you. But I do want us to get back to the item at hand. Okay, which is the fee waiver. Are you still requesting the fee waiver?
I would definitely love to have the fee waiver, but we need to have a parade to be able to have the fee waiver. Right?
Yeah, yeah.
So
So Jay or Michael, do you have any more that you would like to add to where we're at on this?
Sure. The chamber submitted a separate parade route, which is on page 70, which was approved by the staff. So the fee waiver would apply to that approved parade route.
we were asked to be able to remain on this agenda to supply an alternate route. Otherwise, we would have been taken off this agenda for this particular item. And there is no way that we can get those cars off of Yellowstone Street. The parade is 1 mile long. We need enough blocks. Last year it was shorted by a 1/4 mile. This parade route was, if I didn't supply something, it was going to be removed. So in effort to save the parade, to have it in front of the city commission, this was the effort that we took, and which is why I'm here today.
Right.
I mean, there's no way to get those cars. Those people, they don't have garages. There's on Yellowstone Street. I just, it was about the length. I had to look at the length and the entrance and the exit. It's still, again, turning from Calendar onto Main Street. Calendar Street is not wide enough, not adequate. I've driven it over and over for the last 3 days. I would love to have the fee waiver, but we need to
Okay.
have a parade approval.
Leslie, we need to, well, your public comment time is up, which I have to be fair. As far as commission's concerned, do you have any thoughts on how to move forward on this? I do, but I want to hear from some other people.
I just want to make clear, Jay, we can't be talking about the parade route right now, correct?
Right.
Okay, I just want to make sure I understand, right, because it's fire alarm?
Okay, we have a fire alarm. We need to exit the building.
Once before, huh? Well,